Before you message your avoidant, I want you to do me one favor. Watch this video all the way to the end, because what I'm about to say might save you weeks or even months of heartbreak. I know exactly what you're thinking. If I could just talk to them one more time, if I could just explain myself, if they could just understand how much they hurt me, if I could just tell them everything I've been holding inside. Maybe you're hoping for closure. Maybe you're hoping they'll finally understand. Maybe you're hoping they'll apologize. Maybe you're hoping they'll say, I've been thinking about you too. I understand all of that. I've worked with enough heartbroken people to know those feelings are completely normal. But here's what I want you to ask yourself. What are you expecting to happen after you press send? Seriously, play the movie all the way through. Don't stop at the part where they answer. What happens after that? Because most people only imagine the best case scenario. They picture the avoidant saying, I've missed you. I've made a terrible mistake. I want to fix this. But that's only one possibility. Let's talk about the others. Maybe they don't answer at all. Now you're staring at your phone every 5 minutes. Maybe they answer with one word. Maybe they send a thumbs up. Maybe they say, I hope you're doing well. Maybe they're polite but emotionally distant. Maybe they answer and then disappear again. Maybe they tell you they don't want a relationship. Maybe they say they're seeing someone else. Maybe they become defensive. Maybe they act as if nothing happened. Those possibilities aren't fun to think about, but they're real. And if you're going to reach out, you need to be emotionally prepared for every one of them. Here's something I've noticed. Most people don't send that message because they believe it'll work. They send it because they're desperate to stop wondering. They think, if I don't try one last time, I'll always regret it. And honestly, sometimes I understand that. In fact, there are times when I tell clients to do it. That might surprise you because people expect me to say, never contact your avoidant. But that's not always my advice. Sometimes a person is so consumed by the question, what if, that they're stuck. They're obsessing every day. They're imagining 100 different outcomes. They're thinking, maybe if I just sent that message. In those situations, sometimes I say, okay, send it. Not because I think it's likely to save the relationship, but because sometimes people need to experience reality instead of living inside fantasy. Sometimes they need to know. Sometimes they need to see the response or the lack of response so their mind can finally stop asking what if. But if you're going to do that, I want you to go into it with your eyes wide open. Don't send the message expecting to be rescued. Don't send it expecting closure. Don't send it expecting a completely different person to suddenly appear. Send it only if you're prepared for the possibility that you'll be disappointed, because there's a very good chance you will be. And here's the strange thing. Sometimes disappointment is exactly what finally helps people let go. Not because it's enjoyable, because reality is often easier to heal from than hope. Hope can keep you waiting for months. Reality gives you something solid to work with. Now, does that mean everyone should message their avoidant? No. If you're getting stronger every week, if you're finally sleeping again, if you're thinking about them less, if your life is starting to come back, I probably wouldn't interrupt that healing. Why reopen a wound that's finally beginning to close? But if you've reached the point where you honestly believe, I have to know, I have to try one last time, then go into it with realistic expectations. Not hopeful expectations, realistic ones. Protect your heart. Don't build a fantasy around the response. And whatever happens, don't keep repeating the process. One message turns into another, then another, then another. At some point, you're no longer looking for closure. You're feeding the attachment. If you've reached out, you've got your answer. Even silence is an answer. Even a cold response is an answer. Even breadcrumbs are an answer. Listen to what their behavior is telling you, not just what you're hoping it means. Here's what I tell my clients. Do what you genuinely feel you need to do, not what fear is demanding you do. There's a difference. If you're acting because you're terrified of losing them, that's fear. If you've thought it through, accepted the risks, and know you'll be okay regardless of the outcome, that's a very different place to make a decision from. Whatever you choose, make sure this isn't about chasing someone forever, because no relationship should require you to repeatedly convince someone to choose you. The right relationship won't depend on endless last chances. If you'd like my help figuring out whether reaching out is the right decision for your situation, I'd love to welcome you into my Skool community. It's where people recovering from heartbreak come together for live coaching, honest conversations, practical tools, and support from others who truly understand what you're going through. And if you'd like more personalized guidance, you can book a one-on-one coaching session or an RTT session with me, Or if you don't want to wait, you can be talking to me today on Pop Call. We can connect by voice, video, or chat, whatever feels most comfortable for you. You'll find all the links in my bio. Remember this, before you message your avoidant, don't ask, what do I hope they'll do? Ask yourself, am I emotionally prepared for what they'll probably do? Because if you're prepared for reality, whatever happens next won't have the power to break you the way it once did.